Have you ever said something you didn't mean, just because the moment felt too heavy? You felt heat rising inside your chest, your breath tightening before you could stop it. The words came out, and afterward, a quiet regret followed. Or maybe you went silent. Not from calm, but because your body froze, your breath disappeared, and you couldn't find the right thing to say. We all know that feeling. When life presses on our heart faster than awareness can catch it. That is what we call reaction. It happens before we even realize. But if you slow down, you'll notice something beautiful. A tiny space, right before everything explodes. It's the pause before the next word, the stillness before the next breath. It's quiet, almost invisible, but it's always there. Inside that pause, something sacred waits. The breath. When the mind runs fast, you forget it. But the breath never forgets you. It keeps moving, patiently, faithfully, waiting for you to come home. And in that return, everything begins to change. When you forget to breathe, you react. You move from fear, from habit, from pain. Reaction is automatic. It comes from memory, not from presence. It's your old self trying to protect you, the echo of every time you've been hurt, rising again before awareness can see it. But when you remember the breath, you respond. You act from presence, from stillness, from clarity. Reaction repeats the past, because it is the past trying to act through you. Response opens the present, because it is awareness seeing clearly what is true now. That is the difference between being driven by emotion and being guided by understanding. One is a habit, the other is freedom. The space between them is so small, just one conscious breath. And yet that single breath can change the entire direction of your life. It's like standing at a crossroads and choosing peace instead of chaos. Think about it. How many arguments could end if someone simply remembered to breathe? How many misunderstandings could soften if we paused before speaking? The breath doesn't make you passive, it makes you wise, because it gives awareness time to see what emotion wants to hide. You realize that anger is not the enemy, fear is not the enemy. Forgetfulness is. When you remember your breath, you are already returning to yourself. And from that return, your response begins to carry love. So the next time your heart races or your mind feels like a storm, don't rush to control it. Pause. Inhale gently. Let the breath enter you like morning light. Exhale slowly. Let it wash away what's not needed. You don't have to fix the moment. You only have to feel it fully, with awareness. Because the breath will do what the mind cannot. It will bring you home to the quiet space where wisdom lives. Between the impulse and the breath, freedom begins. Begin with daily scenes. Someone says something hurtful. An email triggers anger. Traffic tests your patience. Reaction rises faster than awareness can catch it. You see how automatic it is, not because you're weak, but because emotion remembers the past. Reaction is the echo of yesterday, but right before it takes over, there is always a pause, almost invisible. That space is the doorway. The breath lives there, waiting for you to remember it. When you do, time slows. You are no longer inside the storm. You are the sky watching it form. Reaction is the body's memory trying to protect you. It is fear disguised as urgency. It happens before thought. The body contracts, breath shortens, attention collapses. But in that contraction, consciousness forgets itself. it becomes the story again. You think you're reacting to this moment, but really you're reliving something unfinished. Awareness has not vanished. It's just covered by habit. The key is not to fight the reaction, but to see it. The moment you observe the impulse, instead of obeying it, you have already stepped into freedom. When you take one conscious breath, you return from memory to reality. The mind may still shout, but the breath whispers truth. It expands the small space between stimulus and action, the sacred pause where choice lives. In that breath, emotion becomes energy, not enemy. Anger becomes clarity, sadness becomes depth, fear becomes alertness. Everything transforms when seen in awareness. Reaction repeats the past. Response opens the present. That one breath is not escape. It is evolution. Response is not suppression. It is the natural intelligence of awareness expressing itself through form. When you respond, your words come slower, gentler, truer. You no longer defend, you understand. The breath gives the mind time to see the whole picture. From that stillness, wisdom acts without violence. This is how compassion speaks. Not to win, but to connect. Not to fix, but to illuminate. Your life begins to flow differently, less as reaction to chaos, more as participation in harmony. In the end, awareness doesn't promise a life without emotion. It offers freedom within emotion. You will still feel anger, sadness, fear, but they no longer possess you. They pass through, leaving insight instead of scars. This is the quiet revolution of consciousness, turning every trigger into a teacher, every breath into awakening. You realize the space between reaction and response is your true home. It's where stillness lives, where love begins, where wisdom breathes. So next time your heart races, pause. Inhale fully, as if gathering light. Exhale slowly, as if offering peace. And let awareness decide what love would do next. But to truly respond with love, we must first understand what makes us react in the first place. Because every reaction has a root, and most of those roots live quietly in the body. It happens so quickly. Someone says something sharp, or a situation feels familiar, and before you even think, your body reacts. The shoulders tense, the breath disappears, the heart beats faster. You tell yourself, "I'm angry because of this moment." But that's rarely true. You're not reacting to now. You're reacting to then. To all the moments in the past when you felt unseen, unsafe, unheard. Your body remembers even when your mind forgets. Every unprocessed emotion becomes an echo inside the body, a reflex waiting to be triggered. That's why a single word, a sound, a glance can awaken such strong feelings. But the beauty of awareness is this. When you breathe consciously, you remind your body that it is safe again. You are not that child anymore. You are the awareness witnessing the pattern. And that awareness is the beginning of freedom. When the body feels danger, it doesn't wait. It reacts. It contracts. It prepares to protect. This is the ancient wisdom of survival. It kept your ancestors alive. But today, most of what threatens you is not physical. It's emotional. A tone of voice, a memory, a fear of rejection. Still, the body responds the same way. Defend, fight, hide. That's why reaction feels so urgent, because the nervous system believes it's saving your life. It doesn't know the difference between a tiger and a disagreement. When you pause and breathe deeply, you're not denying your feelings. You're sending a new message. I'm safe now. I can stay. The breath rewires your biology, inviting calm where chaos once ruled. It's the moment when survival softens into trust. And the more often you remember this breath, the less your body needs to live in defense. You begin to move from protection to presence. Every reaction is a memory trying to protect you. You may think you're angry at the person in front of you, but often you're remembering something deeper, a moment long ago when you couldn't express, couldn't escape, couldn't heal. The body carries that imprint. It lives in your muscles, in your heartbeat, in your breath. So when something today feels similar, the past awakens. You don't choose the reaction. It chooses you. This is why awareness is so powerful. It doesn't judge the reaction. It simply notices it. It says, this is pain remembering itself. That recognition already changes everything. When you witness the old pattern instead of becoming it, you break the cycle. You give space for something new, not another reaction, but a conscious response born from now. In that space between breath in and breath out, you step out of history and into the living present. The breath is not just air. It is awareness in motion. When you breathe deeply, you create space for the past to unwind. You don't have to fix or analyze every memory. You just need to breathe through it. Each conscious breath is like opening a window in a room that has been closed for too long. The stale air of old emotions begins to move, and slowly, light enters again. As you breathe, you may feel sadness, anger, or fear. Don't resist them, breathe them. Let them rise, expand, dissolve. You are not your pain. You are the awareness witnessing its release. The body starts to trust this rhythm. It learns that it no longer has to hold the past. It can let go, gently, naturally, through the breath. This is how healing happens, not by force, but by allowing. Each breath becomes forgiveness, each exhale, liberation. You cannot change the past, but you can breathe through it. And when you do, the energy of the past transforms into wisdom. Reaction is automatic, a reflex from memory. Response is awareness, a choice from presence. The difference between them is just one conscious breath. In that breath, you stop repeating and start renewing. You stop fighting life and start flowing with it. The body relaxes, the heart opens, and the mind, for a moment, becomes silent. This is not escape. It is evolution. Each time you remember to breathe, you bring light into the places where fear once lived. You begin to respond instead of react. You begin to live instead of relive. And slowly, your whole being learns this truth. The breath is not only survival, it is transformation. When awareness touches emotion, something subtle happens. The emotion does not vanish. It softens. It no longer needs to shout to be seen. Anger, fear, sadness. All they ever wanted was your presence. The breath becomes the bridge. You are no longer the one inside the feeling, but the one who witnesses it, tenderly, clearly. Like watching a storm from the safety of the shore, you still feel the wind, but it no longer controls your direction. Awareness does not suppress emotion. It allows it to unfold within spaciousness. And in that space, transformation begins. To witness without judgment is to love without condition. When you label an emotion as bad, you strengthen its hold. But when you simply see it, without pushing it away, without clinging to it, you dissolve its story. Awareness is like sunlight. It does not choose what to shine on. It illuminates both the shadow and the flower. In that light, everything relaxes into truth. You start to see anger carries misunderstood love, fear hides unexpressed trust, sadness is devotion waiting to be recognized. Nothing within you is truly against you. It's just waiting to be seen through clear eyes. Every emotion lives in the body. It is a wave, not a wound. It rises, crests, and fades if only you breathe with it instead of resisting it. When awareness breathes, the body begins to release what the mind tried to hold. The shoulders drop, the chest softens, the rhythm of life returns. This is not control, it is communion. You are no longer trying to heal. Healing happens naturally when presence replaces resistance. As the breath deepens, the emotion melts back into energy, free, unburdened, alive again. Awareness is the great alchemist. It turns pain into wisdom, fear into clarity, anger into courage, sadness into compassion. How? By staying, by not escaping the fire, but letting the fire purify instead of destroy. Pain becomes sacred when it is met with consciousness. It ceases to be a punishment and becomes a teacher. You begin to see that nothing was ever wrong. Everything was guiding you toward awakening. Every wound was a doorway, every tear, a baptism into presence. And this is how emotion transforms into wisdom, not by fighting it, but by seeing it through the eyes of stillness. When awareness becomes your home, you stop trying to fix every emotion. You let life move through you as clouds through an open sky. Joy and sorrow come and go, but you remain, vast, luminous, unmoved. Now compassion flows effortlessly. You understand that everyone's reaction is just unawareness seeking light. You no longer take it personally. You simply breathe and let your presence be the answer. This is the true transformation. From reacting to responding, from suffering to seeing, from seeking peace to being peace itself. Awareness has turned experience into wisdom, and you into silence that understands. The breath is your anchor in the waves of emotion. When the mind spins, when the heart tightens, when you feel lost in the pull of reaction, pause. Feel the air entering your nostrils. Notice the gentle rise of your chest. No need to change anything. Just witness this quiet movement of life. Each inhale says, I am here. Each exhale whispers, I can let go. Slowly, the storm begins to lose its power. You realize you don't have to fight emotion. You only have to stay. Awareness and breath together become the calm at the center of the storm. Every time you return to the body, you return to the present. Awareness lives not in thoughts, but in the simple sensations of now. Feel the weight of your feet on the ground, the air brushing against your skin, the quiet pulse in your chest. These are doors back to presence. You don't need to analyze, fix, or escape. You only need to notice. This noticing is your refuge. Through it, emotion flows without harm. Thoughts soften into space, and the body remembers how to breathe again. In that remembering, you are already home. The breath doesn't fix you. It reminds you you were never broken. It returns you to what has always been whole. Each breath you take is the universe saying, you belong here. The inhale gathers your scattered pieces. The exhale releases your need to control. What remains is peace. Simple, unforced, complete. Keep this anchor close. In moments of fear, breathe. In moments of love, breathe. In moments of confusion, breathe. Let each breath be a prayer without words, a soft bow to the stillness that lives in you. And when you forget again, don't worry. The next breath is already waiting to bring you home. And as the breath brings you home, life itself becomes the meditation. No longer separate, breathing and living are one. Every step, every sound, every touch becomes a continuation of awareness. Awareness is not limited to the cushion. It is not something you practice only with eyes closed. Awareness is life itself, the quiet seeing behind every movement. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you speak, listen to the sound of your own voice and the silence that surrounds it. When you wash your hands, feel the coolness of water touching skin. Each simple act becomes sacred when met with attention. This is meditation in motion, life lived from the center of stillness. You are no longer doing mindfulness. You are being it. When you drive, breathe. When you teach, breathe. When your child cries, breathe before you speak. When stress rises, let the breath remind you. You have space to choose. Awareness does not ask you to be perfect, only present. In that presence, communication becomes compassion, work becomes offering, listening becomes healing. Response is not about control, it's about connection. You start to feel how every moment invites you to meet life consciously, not as a repetition of the past, but as a living expression of peace. To live as response is to move from clarity, not conditioning. You pause, you breathe, you see, and then you act. No longer driven by fear or hurry, your actions begin to carry the fragrance of awareness. They flow naturally, without resistance or regret. Presence becomes your intelligence, not effort. You become a mirror of stillness in motion, calm amidst noise, kind amidst tension, awake amidst the ordinary. And so, life itself becomes the meditation, breathing, speaking, loving, responding, one conscious moment at a time. In the end, you realize there is no need to force yourself to not react. That effort belongs to the mind. Instead, you simply breathe with everything, with anger, with sadness, with joy, with the sound of life unfolding. The breath becomes your natural response, your silent companion in every storm. It does not judge. It does not resist. It only invites you home, again and again, to the quiet center where peace is born. The breath becomes the new reflex. Not the reflex of fear, but of wisdom. Not the reflex of control, but of surrender. This is the return, the moment when reaction dissolves into pure seeing. The breath is the space where emotion turns into light. Each inhale draws life in. Each exhale releases what no longer serves. Nothing to fix, nothing to hide, just a gentle remembering that awareness was always here. When you breathe with awareness, every moment becomes response, not reaction. And in that simple act, peace is no longer something to find. It is what you are. Each time you remember your breath, you are already responding, not reacting. You are already free. May this breath awaken all beings from the sleep of fear and forgetfulness. May it dissolve every chain of karma, every pattern of pain. May all hearts remember the stillness that was never lost. To those who suffer, may your breath become your refuge. To those who seek, may your breath reveal what was always here. May we all return to the simple truth of being, aware, compassionate, and free from all bondage. May all beings awaken to peace.